if you know what your problem is and you can't stop repeating it, there is, it does pose the question of whether you deeply ingrained in you and you'll never be able to change.
Two traders, Darren and Walter, pull back the curtain on profitable trading systems, consistent money management, and profitable psychological triggers. Welcome to the Two Traders Podcast.
Welcome to the Two Traders Podcast. Walter here. Hello, Darren.
Good evening, Walter.
So we're going to talk about chucking in the towel in this episode. So the idea, I guess, here is when do you sort of hit that uncle point? I don't know. Do you say uncle? Is that something you say in the UK? Is that something that people say? Say uncle?
No, I've not heard of that saying.
Well, I guess it's an American one. Then it means, so like if you were a little kid and your big brother had you pinned down to the floor and you're squirming and you're trying to get out of it and you're not going anywhere because he's stronger and bigger and older than you, he'll say like, say uncle. So uncle just kind of means like I give up,
okay.
Right? So when do you say that? Yeah, so that's basically
okay. Yeah.
So when do you say uncle? When do you throw in the towel and quit being a trader? Are there signs? Are there reasons to do so?
Well, the reason I emailed this proposal for this podcast to you was that recently a friend of mine who has been trading a long time, a really smart guy, good trader, has contacted me this week and said that that was it for him with trading, and he was chucking in the towel. It was making him unhappy. It was affecting his life negatively. And he wanted to kind of get on with his life, and trading had become a negative thing. And it just kind of brought home to me this kind of realization that, we kind of all think that we're going to make it in the end. And we kind of give a lot of our lives over to trading, our time. We perhaps neglect relationships, and we try really hard, throw lots of money at it. And, as we know, not everyone makes it. And I guess there's a lot of people that get to a point where it's not making them happy. It's become something negative, and they have to throw in the towel. But none of us really believe that that's going to happen to us. And it kind of begs the question about how we go about trading as well, and whether we do kind of try too hard, if you like, and we should kind of be a little bit more hobbyist about it and do it sort of in the background. And I know that's really hard to do, because the sort of people that are attracted to trading, you are going to get, it's something challenging, and you're going to get absorbed into it and give everything. But it was just a little bit of a wake-up call to me that there's a lot of people getting into trading now, and there are negatives associated with it, and a lot of us are not going to make it. And I suppose really I'm kind of saying that it's something we should consider as, do we draw a line? If I lose this amount of money, then I'm chucking the towel in. Or if it starts affecting my relationships with my girlfriend or my family, I'm going to chuck the towel in. And so I know it's a bit of a negative podcast, but it does bring up some interesting questions.
Yeah, absolutely. The psychologist in me sort of thinks about this idea that they use in psychology where they say, is it, when something comes up, it's sort of, is it affecting other areas of your life? And if so, then it's a problem. So like, for example, alcohol. The classic is alcohol. If your drinking affects your ability to show up for work, to maintain good relationships, if it's gotten to that point with your alcohol, then you know that it's sort of, that's going down the path of alcoholism. And I guess it would be, I think about this the same way. The key part that I heard from you was this idea of hobby. It is difficult because you get these people, these type A people who are really successful in what they do, and then they try to apply everything to trading, and they get all their spreadsheets and everything, and their retirement money and all this, and everything's sort of, laid out, and they're going for it. But I think it's almost like that when you're trading and you never know what the next trade is going to do. You never know if it's going to bring a win or a loss, but it's kind of nice to have that point of view where you can sit back and watch it, sort of like watching a a basketball game or a rugby match or something like that, and you're just kind of like almost like an interested observer. I think that's a really healthy way. And I know it's really difficult for people to do that, but I found that, for me anyway, that's kind of a fun way to trade, because you don't have a skin in the game, even though you do. It's all your money, but but you kind of you're looking at it sort of detached, and you're sort of watching it as you would watch a game on TV, and it's like, oh, okay, there's a score. They scored. Yeah, that was a win. And they fumbled the ball away or whatever. Yeah, that sort of thing. And I know it sounds crazy, but in a way, it makes it so much less psychologically damaging. And certainly if it's affecting your life, then people have lost their arm, they've lost their lives. People do all kinds of drastic things when they get in too deep. And so I agree, Darren. I don't think it's necessarily for everyone, and or even for everyone all the time. If it gets to that point where it's affecting your life, I think it means it basically means, that's it. It's time to stop. And so I guess your question is, well, how do you know when it's time to stop?
Yeah, or is there something about how some of us are approaching trading that's kind of fundamentally wrong? I mean, it's funny actually, where I know a lot of traders that have other jobs, good jobs, and they do that alongside trading, and they don't seem, obviously they're not affected so much by it, because they're kind of, they have other streams of income, they have other options, and they have other stuff that means it can't be all absorbing. If you have a bad day trading, but you've got another job as well, then it's not necessarily going to be the only thing on your mind when you go home. Whereas if you kind of give up work and you've decided now that you're just going to trade for a living, and that's your thing, then a bad period or losing period, or stupid mistakes you made are gonna seem much more important. It's just kind of begs the question: should we just kind of lay off it a little bit and kind of nurture other interests? They could be like associated with trading themselves, a website business, or a forum, or some sort of community with traders, and some other kind of things to work on and take your focus. And I think we kind of get just sucked in. I know certainly I did, and now I kind of structure things so that doesn't become a problem to me. So I'll tend to work solidly as a trader for 2 months, and then I'll have a month where I'm still trading, but generally I'm kind of loafing around and treating it more like a holiday. So kind of forcing myself to take a back seat from it and appreciate a few other things. But even when I'm trading, I have like other business interests that I kind of work on as well. And so, I mean, really, I think is the problem making it our kind of sole focus and giving too much to the actual process of just trading.
Yeah, so if you have other things, if you're into programming, I know some people, like there's a guy in the forum who has a risk management software company for traders. So you can kind of focus in on trading, but in almost like an ancillary, just sort of slightly off, because it's easy to get deep into it and not. You can really throw yourself into this stuff, especially when you first get started, and you almost don't come up for air. You're just always sort of all trading and trying to figure this stuff out, trying to make it work. I think that there's a real danger there. And one thing that can help, I think, in terms of your question, Darren, which is when should I throw in the towel, is if you have a trading buddy. And this is something that I try and connect people up with other traders, in our forum, in our community, is if you want someone to be accountable to, this is a really good idea. You can do this. If you know other traders, you can set up a situation where you speak to each other every week, you talk about what you've done, and that other person is to be very blunt with you and say, well, let's see now. I mean, this is really affecting your life here. Your trading seems to be completely getting out of control. Is this really something that you want to keep doing? These are the sorts of things that your trading buddy should be able to tell you, to keep you on track, to make sure that things are going as they should. And when you have a drawdown, is it just a drawdown? Is it a normal thing, or is it something that you're doing that's not right? Are you breaking your rules? Are you getting too aggressive? Is this affecting your relationships and your job or whatever? These are the sorts of things that you can do with your trading buddy, and that's a really valuable relationship for people to have. it's often the case that it's better if this person is not your spouse, but it's better to have someone kind of, on the other side of the world who you can really be honest with, unlike any other relationship. So that's something that someone listening to this might want to pursue, is find a trading buddy. Find someone in a forum or at a trading meetup, or someone that you know who is a trader, and see if you can connect with that person. And that way you can also make sure that you're on track. And that person, you might say at the outset, okay, you're going to be my trading buddy. We're going to meet every Saturday on Skype. And when we do, if there ever becomes a point when you think I should stop doing this, you should let me know, because you're my trading buddy and you're the one that's going to have an objective point of view, seeing how my trading's going, and let me know whether or not you think I should throw in the towel.
I wonder I wonder how many retail traders actually trade with other people face to face. I imagine there's hardly anybody that does that. I mean, I'm constantly in contact with a lot of traders, but we're only ever talking on Skype or some sort of internet media. There's never any kind of face to face, like you would say in a proprietary trading room where you're kind of sat with other traders. I wonder whether that would kind of help us as traders as well. I know there was a meet up in London. I never went to it, but that was like a personal thing. But I think would that be helpful to be kind of, I did hear of a guy who trades with his wife, and they both kind of sit down in the office together. And I think that's the only one I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I know a husband and wife in Spain that do that. They trade the 1 minute euro. That was you.
Yeah, it was you that said. Yeah, it was you that told me about them. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to get them on because they'd be a great interview. But they're pretty shy. But yeah, that's what they do. They trade the London Open on the euro on the 1 minute chart, and then I think they only do it for like 2 hours a day, or maybe 3 hours a day, and then they come out of their rooms and kind of debrief and then talk about it. And they take summers off, so the northern hemisphere summer they're off for the whole 3 months, and they just kind of boat around the Med and that sort of thing. But they seem to be very successful, and as you might guess, I think the wife might be slightly more successful than the husband, which is always the case with trading, or always seems to be the case. But yeah, so that's it. It's true though, isn't it? And I think there's something about trading that attracts introverts and people who don't necessarily want to deal with the employees at the office, sort of thing. I think that's kind of part of the deal. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I get a sense that it's sort of like with rock and roll. Okay, who are the is it that rock and roll sends you down the path of drug addiction, or is it that people that have a propensity to be drug addicts get attracted to rock and roll, right? It's sort of, what came first. And I think that there's a little bit of that in trading as well. Which means when we get back to this idea of throwing in the towel, you don't necessarily have that support network, do you? It's difficult to have an online support network. It can be done when things get bad. Who do you turn to? If especially let's say your spouse doesn't even like you trading. Okay, so your spouse doesn't want you to trade because it hasn't worked out and really thinks it's a crazy idea. You don't know anyone else, you don't physically sit down with anyone else who trades. And so now things get rough, and you need the support network. You need people to help you out in your time of need because you're a bit down, and you don't have that because as a trader, everything's online and everybody's in different corners of the world. So it's a bit tricky, isn't it? I think Skype, webinars and Skype, that sort of thing, you can get a little bit of that. And I think having a trading buddy is a great option for that. But you're right, Darren. It's one of those things where trading is kind of isolated. And I think that may be that introverts are attracted to trading, perhaps. I don't know if that's the case, but it could be. And it also could be that we just we're the type of person that feels like we're going to make it on our own. We don't need a job. We don't need a boss. We're going to make this trading thing work. And that's kind of why we're attracted to trading in the first place. We're quite independent and maybe wary of other people, and this is really the path that we choose. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah, I imagine it's quite a difficult decision to make as well, to say that it's not working for me after a long time. This person had certain amount runs of success as well. It wasn't wasn't all bad. He had like periods where he was contacting me and saying, it's really clicking for me now, and he was doing really well. Sort of the irony is he's kind of displaying the qualities that a really good trader needs to have, which is knowing when to cut your losses. And he's kind of displaying that ability now, and at the time that he's deciding that he no longer wants to trade. I have my suspicions that he will come back and may do really well, and I think really more than anything he needed to completely stop trading and walk away from the charts for a bit. So I hope he comes back and makes some money.
Yeah, right. Wow. So what do you think would happen for him to come back to trading? What would have to happen?
I don't know. I imagine that the problems he's experiencing now have always been his problem, and maybe with some time away he'll kind of realise. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you know what your problem is and you can't stop repeating it, there is, it does pose the question of whether you deeply ingrained in you and you'll never be able to change. And, maybe that has been his realization, and, he's decided, it's time to kind of say goodbye to trading and try something else.
No, it's not. It's not. But I think I've...
Not very cheery podcast.
To me, something like that, to me, and I don't know the situation, and I really don't have any place talking about this, but if I were in that situation, I would have to say, what is it about me and my experience and my history? What is it about that has led me to this point? Is there something, in other words, is there something going on subconsciously? Have I seen this pattern repeatedly? Is there something going subconsciously that's affecting me? So for example, if you're somebody like myself who's gone through, as a kid, you went through several divorces, and your father, was only with you basically when you're really, really young. My pattern was someone who would walk away. So I would, whenever there was something like a relationship or something where it got to the point where I wasn't really sure if this person was still in it for the long haul, I would be the one. I had to be the first one to walk away. Well, if you're the first one to walk away, then someone else can't walk away from you, can they? You know what I mean? So that's like a pattern that I had, and that's something that I had to come to realize. And I don't know this situation, like I said, I don't really have any reason, but I would say that to me, there could be some gains made if you tried to work on the subconscious. But that's just kind of my bias is to do that. And maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe that's not, maybe it's not important for him to go, for you to step in and go, no, because he told you for a reason, right? He told you for a reason. It could have been the reason was just, hey, you're probably not going to hear from me for a while because I'm not going to trade. Okay, I'm done trading. But it might have been because he wanted you to go, oh no, don't do it. Stop. You're actually gonna. You're really good. This is gonna work for you. You just have to look at it from a different way, or you know what I mean. There was something going on there. There's a reason why he said that.
Yeah, it did cross my mind, but I thought it's very difficult when it comes to trading. It's tricky giving people advice in trading, isn't it? Because when someone tells you that something is making them unhappy, then you don't want to be the person that encourages them to prolong that pain or make it even worse, do you? So it's a tricky subject because people get, like I say, get completely absorbed in trading. It becomes a big thing for them, and a lot of us are sort of hanging our hopes and dreams on the outcome of this. It's not just like a job for a lot of us. For a lot of us, it's a lot more than that. So I'm always really cautious of encouraging people too much about where they should go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. Yeah, exactly. You don't know, and if it's affecting his life, I mean, that's kind of the test. Is it affecting your life? Yes, it's affecting my life. Okay, all right. Well, then it's time to. That makes a lot of sense. So
it's like the Fisher King. Have you seen the Fisher King, the Robin Williams film?
No, I haven't. No, I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he's like a New York DJ, and he's always telling people what they should do, and they should fight back against the bankers or something. And then some guy goes out with a gun, takes it literally, and shoots a load of bankers. And then his life implodes, and so. I'm always cautious, and like you were saying earlier, if any of my friends say they want to get into trading now, I'm really cautious about showing them anything because I know how difficult it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to kind of earn your stripes, earn your pips off the hard way, don't you? At least most of us. I know. I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you better pick a more cheery subject for us next week.
Yeah, we better do that. But it was a great. I mean, it's a good one to look at because people don't look at this. Like you say, people have that optimism bias, don't they? They just assume that they are above average, that they're going to make it, that it's going to work for them, that they're going to crack the nut. And even if you do, for some time, you might hit that point where you're just like, okay, it's not worth it anymore. So it's an important thing to consider for sure. Thanks for the topic, Darren.
Okay, Walter. Yeah, nice talking with you again, and I'll see you next week.
Great. See ya.